Introduction to Crossing the Interstellar Wife and Prosperity. Crossing the future interstellar world where martial arts are paramount, in order to avoid intrigue, Luo Bi concealed her awakening of abilities. Unexpectedly, someone who doesn't have long eyes insisted on causing trouble. The cousin first snatched her fiancé, and then wanted to snatch what belonged to her. In a fit of anger, Luo Bi ran to test, but the result was terrifying. Chapter 1. Strong Genes. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Luo Bi had just arrived at the Wu family pharmacy, parked her sports car, and entered through the main door with the key. She arrived late again, and there were already several guests picking medicinal plants in the pharmacy. The supervisor Wu Yu is introducing medicinal plants to the guests. Wu Yu is a legitimate member of the Wu family and appears to be a young man. In fact, he is already in his 40s. In the interstellar era, where the average age of humans is 300 years old, 40 years old is his youth. Wu Yu looked up and saw that Luo Bi had finally arrived. He said, "Go to the back quickly." There were many medicinal plants sent this morning, as well as a few low-level spiritual plants. Be careful when sorting and processing them. The guest followed the sound and looked at Luo Bi, but Luo Bi ignored it and agreed to go to the studio behind him. "You're here." Jiang Zhu, Luo Bai's only colleague, breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that her skills were not as good as Luo Bai's and her speed was not good. The medicinal plant treatment in the studio mainly relied on Luo Bi, especially the spiritual plant. As long as it was processed by Luo Bai's small hands, only a small amount of spiritual power was lost. Luo Bi raised her hand and began to deal with the few spiritual plants, without idle talk, chatting with Jiang Zhu. Luo Bi is not under control. Jiang Zhu is the cousin in charge of Wu Yu, and the studio is a world of two people. As long as it does not delay work, let them talk. How's Huarant's mania going? Are you really going to take out the interstellar coins you saved to buy him Anshan powder? Jiang Zhu suddenly remembered and asked. Huaran is Luo Bai's stepbrother, remarried to the Luo family with his mother, and is a strong gene thunderbolt warrior. He works in the military. A month ago, when he was on a mission, he had an accident and his strong gene was damaged, and he was sent back home. Treating strong gene damage requires spiritual medicine. Although the 3rd Legion where Huaran is located provides some spiritual medicine, the price of spiritual medicine is really high. The Luo Bi family cannot afford Huarant's long-term use of spiritual medicine. It has only been a long time, and the Luo Bi family's wealth has been emptied. Watching Huarant's strong genetic frenzy uncontrollable, Luo Bai's mind twitched. These days, she has been thinking about her private money and chatting with Jiang Zhu all day. "I don't know, do you think I should take it out?" Luo Bi frowned, and she had been hesitating about it for several days. Luo Bi is a time traveler, not a soul piercing into someone else's body to give up, but a reincarnation carrying memories from her past life. She has a habit of wanting to hear other people's opinions on everything. Whether to adopt or not is one thing, she just wants to hear, especially whether to take out her own private money. She really wants to hear some opinions from others. It depends on what you think. If you really can't bear it, you can take out some interstellar coins to buy elixirs for Huaran. Don't take them all out, your family's future expenses will be high. Jiang Zhu is older than Luo Bi, considering long-term considerations. After quickly handling a 2nd-level spiritual plant, Luo Bi thought for a moment and said, "Huaran is a child brought by my stepmother, not my own brother. I'm just worried that if I take out my private money, others will think I'm foolish." "Oh my! Did you finish dealing with a spiritual plant first?" Jiang Zhu only then noticed the completed spiritual plant on the work shelf in front of Luo Bi. At this moment, she realized that her speed had slowed down unconsciously, and her subordinates immediately accelerated their speed. "You're called having emotions and righteousness." Jiang Zhu is a smooth person and is used to picking up nice things to say, but when he encounters Luo Bi, he can't do it anymore. Speak in person. Luo Bi followed closely and slammed Jiang Zhu's flattery into the mud. Luo Bi sincerely seeks advice and does not allow others to make empty promises. Chapter 2. Private Money. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Being mercilessly suppressed by Luo Bi, Jiang Zhu smiled. Luo Bi has a righteous heart and likes to speak and act directly most of the time. She has become accustomed to saying, "You don't believe me yet, sister, what I say is true. Don't play this game with me. How much does it cost to have feelings and righteousness in 1 pound of interstellar currency?" Luo Bi sneered, "Don't put this elusive high hat on my head, be careful not to deceive me. I don't want to be someone with feelings and righteousness." Next, with a tone of resentment, he said, "If you have feelings and righteousness, you must give. I don't even know how to give a single eyelash to someone else. It's better for me to die than to give. You have such a temper." Luo Bi can be very cold-blooded at times, and Jiang Zhu really believes it. He shook his head and began to worry about the Luo Bi family. In this situation, as long as there is a third-grade spiritual medicine, Huaran can save his life, but the price of the third-grade spiritual medicine is expensive. Even if the Third Legion has it, it cannot be given to a deposed person. Unfortunately, Huaran is an S-level strong Gene Thunder Flame warrior, and it was destroyed like this. Jiang Zhu was truly regretful. There is no third-grade spiritual medicine, and in the future, we can only use potions and low-grade spiritual medicines to hang our lives. Even if you take out all your private money, it's just a drop in the bucket, and in the end, we can't keep it. After talking for a while, Jiang Zhu finally said, "Let's keep your private money. Don't take it out, it won't last for a few days." Even though Jiang Zhu admires Huaran very much, he still values reality. For someone whose life is not long, spending money to prolong it is too wasteful. Luo Bai's subordinates paused and looked up at Jiang Zhu, hesitating to speak. She wanted to tell Jiang Zhu that she had the ability to prolong Huaran's life. At this moment, she almost spoke out about her awakening, but fortunately, her reason was still there. The idea only existed for a few seconds, and she immediately suppressed it and lowered her head to continue working. Jiang Zhu reacted slowly and did not pay attention to Luo Bai's abnormality. Wu Yu sent away a group of guests and arrived at the studio. After listening for a moment, he interjected, "I heard from Jiang Zhu that you plan to use your saved interstellar coins to buy Ningxian powder. Huaran's strong genes are severely damaged, and long-term use of spiritual medicine is necessary for treatment. Your interstellar coins are not very useful, so I advise you not to waste them." He paused for a moment and continued, "Huaran is your stepmother's son. It's not worth it to build his family for him." He said all of this before going too far. Luo Bi sighed and said, "I understand the reason, but my stepmother was not what my father wanted to find. It was me who found her for my father. Their mother and son entered our house, and it seems like it's not good to ignore anything. Wu Yu hated the iron for not being strong. It seems that you are usually quite clever. Why are you so confused at this time? You used all your interstellar coins to buy Anshan powder. How will you live your future? Drink the wind from the west and north." Luo Bi remained silent. Drinking from the west and north is not a problem. With her awakened ability, it is not a problem to support the whole family, and even to save Huaran's life. But Luo Bi didn't want others to know about her awakening, deliberately hiding it for so many years, and she didn't want to say it unless absolutely necessary. While daydreaming, her terminal rang. Looking up, it was her fiancé Hua Chen who invited her to meet at the Xianming Pavilion where the Thunder Flame warrior belonged. Luo Bi and Hua Chen are in a family alliance and rarely meet. When they hang up, Luo Bi is a bit puzzled. Hua Chen has never arranged an appointment with her at this point before. Wu Yu was very easy to talk to. When he heard that Hua Chen had invited Luo Bi, he readily agreed, go and come back quickly. Chapter 3. Cancellation of engagement. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. As soon as Luo Bi left, Wu Yu and Jiang Zhu discussed the affairs of the Luo Bi family. There were few staff members in the pharmacy, and when working, their mouths were also idle, making it a common practice to talk about people's length. Luo Bi is also such a person. Despite her usual appearance as a best friend with Jiang Zhu, if Jiang Zhu is not around one day, she will talk to Wu Yu behind his back about Jiang Zhu, just like she often talks to Jiang Zhu behind his back about Wu Yu. Luo Bi doesn't have the virtue of disregarding right and wrong behind the scenes like other travelers. Regardless of who they are so idle that she, along with Jiang Zhu and Wu Yu, will comment on it. In the Wu family pharmacy, no one can try to control their mouths. Xiangming Pavilion is not far from the Wu family pharmacy, and it only takes 5 minutes to drive a sports car. Luo Bi walked into the Xiangming Pavilion and glanced around, only to find Hua Chen sitting by the window. He walked over with a smile and sat down. Hua Chen first glanced at Luo Bi, took a sip of tea, and said, I've thought it over again, we're not suitable. Let's break the engagement. Luo Bi began to think she had misunderstood and looked at the handsome man across from her with a puzzled expression. Her smile narrowed and she had a good ear. She could hear what Hua Chen said very clearly. But suddenly, she was completely unprepared. She tilted her head and blinked again and again, hoping to see any clues on the man's face. There were no signs before, and Hua Chen suddenly proposed to terminate the engagement, leaving her somewhat bewildered. Hua Chen sipped the tea with a calm expression, and there was nothing visible on her face. However, the obvious estrangement made Luo Bai's mind clear. Regardless of the reason, the other party's desire to withdraw was true. Isn't it appropriate? Luo Bi smiled inexplicably, holding the teacup and turning it around. Hua Chen was outstanding in appearance, a strong Jin Thunder Flame warrior, and had a decent family background. Luo Bi always thought that at the right time, the two would naturally get married. Unexpectedly, Hua Chen wanted to terminate her engagement. It is obvious that something unexpected happened on Hua Chen's side. Not to mention that the two were not suitable, they got along well with each other. Luo Bi didn't believe this obvious excuse. After quickly sorting it out, Luo Bi tentatively asked, can you tell me the real reason? Luo Bi speculates that it may be related to the damage to Hua Ran's strong genes. She concealed her awakening, and in everyone's eyes, she is just an ordinary person. However, Hua Chen is a strong Jin Thunderbolt warrior with a strong gene reaching level A, and the two are not suitable. 80% of the reason why Luo Bi and Hua Chen were able to sign a marriage contract is because she has the most promising stepbrother of a strong Jin Thunderbolt warrior. Hua Ran and Hua Chen were brothers of the same generation in the Hua family. Due to certain reasons, Hua Ran left the Hua family and gradually showed his strength after joining the army of the Ji Huang Star. The Hua family probably did not want to give up on potential younger generations. When they learned that the Luo family branch, who lived in the Ji Huang Star for a long time, intended to marry the local garrison, they tacitly promised Hua Chen to marry the Luo family. Nowadays, the strong genes of Hua Ran are damaged, and even if their lives can be saved, people are mostly useless. It is not surprising that the Hua family has made a decision to terminate their engagement. Hua Chen looked at Luo Bi with a complicated expression. Luo Bi couldn't understand the meaning behind that glance and only heard Hua Chen say, you've thought too much, it's just not suitable. There's no other reason. The two of them got along for a while, but didn't even want to tell the truth. Luo Bi felt a little angry, and her favorability was lowered to the lowest point. Even the slightest regret disappeared in an instant. She chuckled and said, all right, since that's the case, let's terminate the engagement. Luo Bi has traveled through time and has no sense of belonging to this interstellar world. She is just an fiancée, and apart from being a bit confused, there is nothing she can't bear to part with. Cancel your engagement, it's rare. Chapter 4. Storage ring. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Hua Chen was somewhat surprised by Luo Bi's pleasure. He was a second-level mid-level Thunder Flame warrior, and his strong genes were also A. level. Recently, he was appointed as the captain of the 5th team of the Burning Emperor Star, with all the conditions above that of Luo Bi, an ordinary person. It is said that after hearing about his divorce, Luo Bi should strongly oppose it. Hua Chen was already prepared to deal with Luo Bi's entanglement. Unexpectedly, withdrawing from the marriage was so easy, with a hint of doubt in her eyes. However, she also breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. No matter what Luo Bi's plans were, it was good to be able to withdraw smoothly. Please return the storage ring I gave you. Hua Chen asked for the valuable item to be sent out. It seems that Luo Bi has only just met Hua Chen now. She looked at him incredulously, continued to laugh, and took the initiative to terminate her engagement. She also wanted to return the storage ring. Think beautiful, go and have your big dream. Luo Bi is someone who knows how to dress, so she said, I'm afraid it's impossible to give it back to you. About 10 days ago, I went to the mining area to try my luck, but ended up leaving the storage ring inside. Zhuohuangxing is a peripheral planet of the Empire, with mineral resources classified as intermediate. In order to earn interstellar coins, many people will mine in mining areas that have been extensively mined but not used. They hope to have good luck in finding the missing jade, and Luo Bi is one of them. In her spare time, Luo Bi will visit the mining area at regular intervals. Occasionally, a few low-quality jadeite stones are released and sold, earning over 1,000 interstellar coins per month. Compared to others, it's neither too much nor too little, and luck belongs to the upper middle, which she controls very well. No one would notice that she has actually awakened her talent, let alone imagine that someone in this world would conceal their talent and not want to become a prestigious talent mentor. The idle mining area is so large that if things like rings are dropped inside, there will be no trace at all. If Luo Bi finds this reason, she simply doesn't want to pay it back unless her mind gets lost. Luo Bi no longer holds the teacup and turns it around, but instead uses her index finger to turn left and right for her own pleasure. She doesn't plan to drink this tea today. Everyone has been divorced, so she doesn't have any leisure time to drink tea. She's so angry that she's already full of gas. You lost it. Hua Chen was slightly annoyed. That storage ring is a first-class storage device. Although it is only 3 square meters and worth 300,000 interstellar coins, it is a considerable amount for Hua Chen. However, his engagement has been cancelled and he does not want to give it away for free. Don't tell him it's lost. Hua Chen doesn't believe this statement, but Luo Bi insisted on losing it. What can he do? As a strong gene Thunderbolt warrior, you can't take action against women who are engaged to him. Hua Chen's meager guilt was completely shattered by anger, and he said, that's 300,000 interstellar coins. You lost them and didn't look for them. I found it, I haven't found it. Luo Bi opened her eyes and said a lie, making up her mind not to return it. Whoever returns it is stupid. You. Hua Chen's eyes were not kind, and he said softly, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. I don't want the storage ring anymore. It's a voluntary offer of compensation for getting out of marriage. From now on, we don't owe each other. After saying this, he looked contemptuously at Luo Bi, got up, pushed aside his chair, and took a big step. Because Hua Chen couldn't control the volume, he caught the attention of the guests around him. Among them, several Thunder Flame warriors were familiar faces, probably soldiers of the Feng Yao Empire. A series of exploratory gazes came over, and even though Luo Bi was angry, she felt somewhat uneasy. She slowly lifted the lid of her cup to smell the scent, but Quan Dang couldn't see it. Chapter 5. Unable to think through. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In the past, Tea was very popular and the first choice for welcoming guests, but in the future, Interstellar tea will be a luxury beverage with high prices. Luo Bi's family has limited conditions and doesn't drink tea often, but the taste has already been engraved in her heart. A faint aroma of tea rushed in, and Luo Bi suddenly realized something while smelling the familiar scent. The guest has left, who is paying the bill now? Underneath my heart, I cursed Hua Chen for not having any taste. Suddenly divorced by someone, Luo Bi felt upset and settled the bill. She stood at the door staring at the terminal on her wrist, her fingers twitching. In the end, she refrained from telling her family immediately about the cancellation of the engagement and decided to wait until she returned home. Luo Bi couldn't hide anything in her heart, so she went back to the Wu family pharmacy and directly talked about the cancellation of her engagement. She didn't have the idea that her family's shame should not be exposed. No matter whether others liked to hear it or not, she would just talk to them. Anyway, after all, she felt better. Whether others can bear it or not, it's none of her business. Jiang Zhu, I get along well with Hua Chen. Why did he suddenly cancel his engagement? Luo Bi still couldn't figure it out, and finally asked a question. Due to bad breath, she accidentally grabbed a complete high-level medicinal plant and pulled a leaf at the top. If nothing happened and the medicinal liquid was applied to seal the medicinal effect, fortunately, the remedy was timely, and this medicinal plant was not wasted. Jiang Zhu didn't notice that Luo Bi almost ruined a high-end medicinal plant. After pondering for a moment, he said, "It's not because the strong genes of Hua Ran were damaged. The most promising thing in your family is Hua Ran. If he has an accident, it's normal for the Hua family to have other thoughts." Thinking of going with her, Luo Bi was restless and had no energy for work. As the day progressed, her efficiency was not as good as half of usual. Wu Yu didn't say anything else and sent her home early. Go back and adjust your mood, do well tomorrow. It's not that Wu Yu has such a good temper, it's just that Luo Bi's technical level is too high for ordinary people to replace him, and hiring someone is not worth the cost. Besides, Luo Bi is difficult to deal with when she is full of evil energy, and when it comes to work, she is a top 2. The quality of the finished products is even worse, and Wu Yu feels inferior. After going back and forth for a long time, Wu Yu was too lazy to put on a supervisory airs with Luo Bi. As long as Luo Bi worked hard, he would be satisfied. Luo Bi's home is about a dozen minutes away from Lingji Street, and running a sports car is faster than a floating car. When she slowly returns home, the whole family is actually there. Father Luo Hang, in order to earn more interstellar coins, has been frequently on missions with mercenary groups lately, and has hardly seen anyone for several days. Today, Hua Chen just cancelled her engagement with her, and when she returned home, she saw her father. Luo Bi felt uneasy, as if something she couldn't guess had happened. Luo Hang sat on the sofa, although trying to conceal it, his face still didn't look good in anger. Luo Bi's father in this life is not inferior to his father in the previous life. He is a person with a big temper and is very upright. He is not angry and definitely has an appetite for Luo Bi. Just because she looked at her father's favor in this lifetime, Luo Bi suddenly had a brain teaser and remarried a woman for her father. Her stepmother also brought her a stepbrother. I thought it was a drag on the bottle, but unexpectedly, it turned out to be a highly potential gene thunderbolt warrior. Luo Zhejian is suitable for defecation. No matter what her father thinks, anyway, Luo Bi feels that her family is more convenient. Her father picked up his son for nothing, and he is still a thunderbolt warrior with a strong genetic level of S, which adds a bit of confidence to anyone's family. Stepmother Guan Zhuting carefully glanced at Luo Bi and saw that she had no signs of losing her temper. She instructed people to wash their hands and eat. Chapter 6. Replacement of candidates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since Hua Ran went crazy with his strong genes, he rarely talks, and only Luo Bi chatters endlessly. Today, Luo Bi remains silent, and the whole table is surprisingly quiet. Luo Bi couldn't bear the oppressive atmosphere. Seeing everyone looking like they had no appetite, she put down her chopsticks and looked at her father. Tell me, what's going on? Luo Heng couldn't eat anything and tried to suppress his anger as much as possible, saying, Hua Chen asked you to divorce. Luo Bi nodded and said, how did father know? Who told you? She wanted to say it before she could. Luo Heng couldn't bear to see Luo Bai's gaze and said, your grandfather urgently called me back and told me that Hua Chen and Xiao Yan were unexpectedly together, so you can help them. Also, it turns out that the marriage between Xiao Yan and the First Legion can only be changed. Luo Heng didn't say anything about it, just lowered his head and held his hand tightly on the table. He had always known that the old man was biased, but this time he was biased too much. Father's words were pleasant. He said that Hua Chen and Xiao Yan were unexpectedly together, and Luo Heng was someone with some knowledge. He didn't believe these grandiose words, and it's possible that both sides were interested and they hit it off at once. Luo Bi looked incredulous and then chuckled, what does it mean to be together unexpectedly? It turned out that Hua Chen and Luo Yan were sleeping. Hua Chen didn't tell the truth as expected. She suddenly realized and her anger surged. In the future interstellar era, talented contract masters are extremely scarce, so in the Fengyao Empire and even the three major galaxies, the status of talented contract masters is extremely prestigious and has always been contested by various forces in the galaxy. The primary condition for becoming a talented contract master is to awaken her talents, and not long ago, Luo Yan happened to awaken. This can make her father Luo Feng and mother Zhang Jiamei extremely happy, and promote it through various means, making the entire Flame Emperor star well known. How long has it been since Luo Yan slept with Hua Chen? Just go to sleep. Nima didn't tell the truth when asked, and made an inappropriate move to deceive people, it was simply deceiving them too much. Luo Bi didn't forget Luo Heng's unfinished words, so she angrily said, replacing someone. Isn't it about marrying me into the First Legion? The army of the Burning Emperor Star has two forces, the First Legion and the Third Legion, each acting independently and restraining each other. In short, they are not able to deal with each other in secret. Luo Fifan, the grandfather of Luo Bi, was careful not to offend anyone. After Luo Bi and Hua Chen were engaged, he had been thinking about building a relationship with the First Legion again. When Luo Yan awakened her talent, Luo Fifan hinted to the First Legion for a marriage alliance. The awakening of both soul power and spiritual power indicates the birth of a gifted contract master. How precious and scarce the gifted contract master is, and many Thunder Flame warriors instinctively have a desire to marry. The meaning of Luo Fifan was conveyed, and Qi Lan, the highest commander of the First Legion on the Burning Emperor Star, almost immediately agreed. The person who married Luo Yan was named Qinilang, the captain of the first combat team, and the rank of colonel was the second-level peak Thunderbolt warrior. Both sides were discussing the matter of a marriage alliance, but as a result, Hua Chen and Luo Yan fell asleep. The slap was so loud that it made a crisp sound. Luo Heng felt guilty towards his daughter and nodded helplessly. Your grandfather had already informed the First Army to station the Emperor's Star. At first, the other party was very angry, but later they agreed. However, the candidate there was also changed. The person in charge of marrying you is Feng Ling, with the rank of major and the position of deputy officer of the first combat team. Luo Bi is so angry at this moment. Teeth grind back and forth, with an impulse to bite. Chapter 7. Storage Bracelets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not only was her fiancé snatched, but also someone was planning to replace her in a marriage alliance. In both her past and present lives, Luo Bi has never suffered such a heavy loss. Your grandfather took the initiative to make a marriage agreement between you and Feng Ling. Let's deal with it now. If we can't get along well, my father will definitely find a way to terminate the engagement between the two families. Luo Heng gritted his teeth and said, even if my father doesn't have much ability, he's not without a bottom line. After finishing speaking, Luo Heng stood up and left the restaurant. Luo Bi knocked on the table, lost in thought. Guan Zhuting hesitated whether to tidy up the dishes. "Mom, stop it." Hua Ran spoke out, pinching her protruding and jumping eyebrows, trying to control the strong genes of the rebellion. Then she said to Luo Bi, "Although Feng Ling and I don't belong to the same army, we are quite familiar with each other. Feng Ling comes from the royal family, and apart from that, his character and upbringing are excellent. If it weren't for his low level of strong genes, as a member of the royal family, he wouldn't have come to serve in the Imperial Star. If you believe me, let's get along with Feng Ling everywhere. Except for the low level of strong genes, Feng Ling is stronger than Hua Chen in other aspects. Luo Bi has a bad temper, and Hua Ran usually doesn't provoke her. If it weren't for Feng Ling being a good candidate, Hua Ran wouldn't have intervened in any trouble. In his current situation, it was ultimately just a lack of spiritual medicine supply, resulting in his body exploding in death. No matter how bad Luo Bai's temper was, after his death, his mother still needed Luo Bai's father and daughter to take care of him. Therefore, Huaran hoped that Luo Bai would have a good home. Luo Bi kept tapping on the table and listening, glancing at Huaran in the middle. As for whether she heard or not, Huaran was unaware. Luo Heng returned and handed Luo Bai a storage bracelet. The dowry given by Feng Ling. Just as he was about to turn around, he remembered something and asked, "Did you return the storage ring that Hua Chen used as the dowry to him?" "No, I told him it was thrown into the mining area," Luo Bai replied, exploring the storage bracelet in her hand. It was 1,000 square meters, several hundred times larger than Hua Chen's, and the price had increased more than 100 times. The people of the royal Feng family are different. Luo Bai tilted her head and chuckled lightly. However, in one day, she actually changed hands, and Hua Chen had no relationship with her anymore. Feng Ling became her fiancée. My grandfather decided her life without even asking her, which is not surprising. In this world, the strong are respected, and only those with high military strength can stand at the top of survival. The weak are never recognized, and that's just the reality. Regardless of whether you are a family member or not, even within the family, you will only be valued if you have value, and those who lack the ability will stand aside directly. Hua Ran's strong genes have been damaged, almost rendering him useless. His father Luo Heng's strong gene level is low, and his combat power level is not high. Therefore, despite his ordinary identity, Luo Bai has even been deprived of his right to speak. Lost well, there's no need to return him even if it's not lost. Luo Heng snorted and reminded Luo Bai before leaving the restaurant, "Feng Ling is coming over tomorrow. Remember to ask for leave from the pharmacy." "Father, don't leave yet. I have something to say to you." Luo Bai called out to Luo Heng and then called out to Guan Zhuting, who was busy in the kitchen. "Mom, come over too. I'll wash the dishes later." Hua Ran felt uncomfortable and stood up with the table. Just as she was about to leave, she looked up and saw Luo Bai staring at him. After hesitating for a moment, she sat down again. "He also participated, so let's listen to it." Hua Ran doesn't care. Guan Zhuting turned off the wooden faucet, wiped her hands, and sat down at the dining table. When everyone was seated, Luo Bai asked, "I just wanted to ask, how many interstellar coins do you have at home?" Chapter 8. Audit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Guan Zhuting paused as she wiped her hands, her face slightly changed, and she exchanged a glance with Hua Ran, causing the mother and son to feel uneasy. Sure enough, when the wall fell and everyone pushed, no one could rely on it. Luo Bai had a rebellious and unrecognizable nature, but today, stimulated by her divorce, she finally had the urge to check her family's accounts. "There are still over 5,000 interstellar coins," Guan Zhuting calmly reported the amount. Luo Bi was very clever, and at a glance, she could tell that the mother and son were overthinking each other. Without explaining, she pointed her finger at her father and said, "Father, how much money did you secretly tap into your private property? I remember you took out 300,000 yuan a few days ago, do you still have it?" Seeing her father hesitating for a moment, Luo Bi knew there were still some, but she didn't know how many. As she watched her father open his mouth to answer, she quickly intercepted and said, "Father should still have some, right? Whether it's for me or anything else, not a single interstellar coin can be missed." "How much?" "Don't say you don't have it, I know you have it." Luo Heng swallowed the word "no" that he was about to spit out, and was exposed by his biological daughter in front of him. Luo Heng regretted telling his daughter that this foolish child was a complete mess. Luo Heng didn't think it was inappropriate to set up a private vault. He glared at Luo Bi and said angrily, "Over 500,000 interstellar coins. So much." Luo Bi was pleasantly surprised. Her father in this life was stronger than in the previous life. In the previous life, his father always cared about this and that, never leaving a way out for his family, and was very foolish. Guan Zhuting lowered her eyes and didn't speak. The two of them are a reorganized family. She has a son, and Luo Heng has a daughter. Everyone has their own selfish intentions, and it's understandable that Luo Heng has his own plans. She originally saved some interstellar coins for her son, but in order to extend his life, she took them out to buy spiritual medicine. Luo Bi turned to Huaran and said, "Brother, what about you? Convert the interstellar coins in your account into the ones in your hand that are valuable. How many interstellar coins do you estimate you have?" Huaran's expression was inexplicable, and she glanced at Luo Bi without rushing to answer. "Abi." The account investigation was a bit too much, and Luo Heng spoke out to remind him that this child doesn't look at when to cause trouble. Now that there is something wrong at home, people's hearts are in turmoil. After her investigation, it is easy for cracks to appear between the families. Luo Bi impatiently gave her father an eye knife before explaining to Huaran, "I don't mean anything else. Your strong genes are severely damaged, and we won't mention whether you can take good care of yourself. First of all, you need to save your life. After checking the accounts, I mainly want to buy you a bottle of third-grade spiritual medicine to save your life." Guan Zhuting suddenly looked over and said with uncertainty, "Do you want to buy a life-saving elixir for your brother? If what Robbie said is true, then perhaps her son can be saved. Luo Heng is the head of the family, and Luo Bi is his only daughter. As long as these father and daughter are willing to sell their family wealth, they can still barely buy a bottle of third-grade spiritual medicine." Luo Bi nodded and said, "I'm not very familiar with the prices of spiritual medicines on the market. Do you know how much interstellar coins one bottle of 3 spiritual medicines costs?" Guan Zhuting received the answer, but the surprise was mixed with nervousness, feeling unreal. Huaran's eyes were complex, and he had experienced too many ups and downs. He had already seen through human nature, but Luo Bai's behavior really exceeded his expectations. Luo Heng may not care about giving for his mother, but Luo Bi really doesn't need it. Besides, as far as he knows, Luo Bi is too indifferent and indifferent. Apart from her family, she never cares about the lives of others. It's rare for her to consider herself as family. Chapter 9. Luck. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Anyway, if Luo Bi had this idea, Huaran naturally wouldn't refuse. He had a mother to take care of and couldn't die yet. He didn't want to die, and no one didn't cherish their own life. The third-grade spiritual medicine requires 5 million interstellar coins. The maximum amount of interstellar coins in my hand is only 300,000, plus my father's 500,000, it's only 800,000 interstellar coins, which is too much difference. Luo Heng frowned and estimated, this house can probably sell for over 2 million yuan. Tomorrow, I'll go to the main residence and see if the old man and big brother can help a little. Huaran will also find friends to help. If my father wants to go to the old house, he can go, but I think it's enough. Going is also in vain. Our home in the scorching Emperor Star Luo looks good on face, but in fact, it's empty and has very few assets. Luo Bi smiled and had no hope for his father to go to the old house. Then she said seriously, the house is the place where our family lives and cannot be sold. With a mournful smile, Huaran knew that this girl was not a bad-hearted person. The house is currently the most valuable in the Luo family. If we don't sell the house, the difference in interstellar currency will be even greater. How much can we borrow from relatives and friends when we go out to borrow it? After talking for a while, he almost believed in Luo Bi just now. Just as Huaran had no hope of buying spiritual medicine, who knew, I have 1 million. Robi threw a bomb. Guan Zhuting and her son were taken aback for a moment, and Luo Heng was clearly surprised. Where did you get so many interstellar coins? I saved it myself, replied Luo Bi. Your pharmacy only costs 5,000 interstellar coins per month. Even if you don't spend a single interstellar coin for 10 years, you won't be able to save 1 million. 1 million is not a small amount for an ordinary family, and Luo Heng must ask clearly to feel at ease. I often go to the mining area, you should know that I sell jade and jade to save up bit by bit. Luo Bi half-truthfully explained that she would not reveal her awakening of spiritual power until absolutely necessary. She was so annoyed with her prestigious status as a contract master that she didn't want to become one. How can we make money by picking up leaks in the mining area? Luo Hengxin felt relieved and proud, saying, we Abi have had good luck since childhood. Luo Bi chuckled, there is no such thing as unfounded good luck in things, it's just that her awakened spiritual power can sense the jade in the ore. But she didn't say anything about it. If it weren't for being a talented contract master, she lived quite well. Who would be willing to be one? Natural talent contract masters are noble, but I don't know what those natural talent contract masters think. They don't wear formal clothes, and they wear either gauze clothes or empty silk clothes, which are hidden and not visible, half exposed and not exposed, what kind of thing? For the seductive clothes, she should not be a talented mentor. The main reason is that the people in that circle are sinister, and Luo Bi's rejection comes from the bottom of her heart. Otherwise, if she had eaten enough, she would have concealed her awakening. We have 1.8 million yuan in our hands now. Tomorrow, we will find relatives and friends to come up with a solution. If we really can't gather 5 million interstellar coins, we can sell the house. Luo Bi didn't know if her family could borrow interstellar coins from outside, so she thought for a moment. Okay, that's it, Luo Heng responded. Next, the family had another conversation. Huaran couldn't hold on and went back to her room to rest. Luo Bi looked at the time and dialed Wu Yu's terminal in the yard. In the darkness, Luo Bi flipped her own affairs upside down without concealing anything. Your grandfather did something really wrong, Wu Yu said rudely before sighing. I'll lend you 100,000 interstellar coins and call you back later. Chapter 10. Unmarried husband. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Thank you. Luo Bi was not surprised. After the communication was interrupted, Wu Yu quickly called in 100,000 interstellar coins. A gust of night breeze blew, with a chill, and Luo Bi leaned back on a chair in the yard, gazing out at the vast night sky. Now is May 8054, and the year is no longer 12 months, but 18 months, divided into spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Spring is the shortest of the 4 seasons, with only 2 months. Summer and autumn have 4 months each, while winter is the longest, with 8 months, long and difficult to endure. It was early summer, and at night the temperature was slightly lower. Luo Heng called out to her from the window, it's getting late, hurry back to your room and go to bed. Got it, impatiently replied as he returned to his room. Luo Bi lay tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep, thinking about what had happened during the day when she suddenly became angry, and how she wanted to get angry. She is sometimes shrewd and has a longer reflex arc. Simply put, her reaction is slow, and she only regained her senses now. Hua Chen withdrew from her marriage for the sake of profit, and she accepted it. Even if she slept with someone behind the scenes, it's understandable, man. It's just that kind of thing. After all, the other person took the initiative to cancel the engagement afterwards and silently responded to her. Who is the target of Hua Chen's bed? It's just Luo Yan, the cousin of Uncle Luo Bi's family. Nima can't help but suppress her anger when she thinks about it. All night focused on getting angry, and the next day, for the first time, Luo Bi didn't sleep in, sitting at the window hating. Hua Chen hooked up with Luo Yan because Luo Yan had awakened her spiritual power and had the potential to become a gambling stone practitioner or energy practitioner. What's so remarkable about Namachi practitioners? She has also awakened, not by taking medication the day after tomorrow, but by being awakened from birth, she can hardly say. There were some noises coming from outside. Luo Bi looked out the window and saw a military floating car driving in. Then a man in military uniform walked out of the car. Luo Bi glanced at the man, who was tall and handsome, a rare beauty. This should be her current marriage partner, Feng Ling. Luo Bi was pondering Feng Ling when Guan Zhuting's voice rang outside the door. Abi, come out quickly. We have guests at home. Luo Bi let out an "ah" and opened the door. Guan Zhuting seemed a bit worried. When she saw Luo Bi slowly coming out, she reminded her, Deputy Feng is here, waiting for you below. Downstairs, Luo Hang and Feng Ling had a great conversation. Hua Ran endured the discomfort and stayed with them. Luo Bi changed her fiancé temporarily and couldn't adapt. After Hua Ran introduced them, Luo Bi sat on the side and remained silent. Feng Ling heard that Hua Ran needed interstellar coins to buy spiritual medicine. She asked Hua Ran's account and transferred 1 million. Hua Ran looked at Luo Bi and Luo Bi said to Feng Ling, thank you. Feng Ling smiled and said, a family doesn't need to be polite. Luo Bi remained non-committal. This family has changed so quickly. Before yesterday, they were still Hua Chen, but today they have become Feng Ling. Feng Ling didn't plan to stay much longer, so she sat down for a while and said goodbye. Before leaving, she left a communication number for Luo Bi. After seeing off Feng Ling, Luo Hang went directly to the main house. Luo Bi called Guan Zhuting, who was walking towards the house, and said, Mom, you can accompany me to the gambling street. What are you doing on Gambling Stone Street? Guan Zhuting asked in surprise. My family needs interstellar coins, let's try my luck. I've always been lucky, you know. With over $1 million left in interstellar coins, it's uncertain whether my father and Hua Ran can borrow them, or how much. Luo Bi decided to use her awakened spiritual power to go to the gambling street and make a profit.